I know Francois likes wine and I like beer. And I think that's it. Otherwise, we wear the same shorts. And we like the same races.
I was a bit afraid of what's gonna happen in my legs. It's okay, I just take my comfortable pace just to finish.
I did a road marathon and I signed up for it just to see if I could survive it. And when I did, I wondered what else I could survive. So I found a 50K, tried a 50-mile, finished it, and fell in love with the sport.
I don't want to have the same season. I want to challenge myself. I want to try something else.
I think mentally we can push our bodies farther than they physically want to go.
You have to be there because you want to finish the race, you want to make the full loop, and if your first motivation is that, maybe you can finish it. If your only motivation is the place or it's a bet or something like that, I think you won't finish the race.
I knew no matter what was going to happen, no matter how long it took, I was going to finish it because I wanted to complete that 100-mile adventure. My name is Courtney Dauwalter and I run ultra marathons.
Courtney is arguably the hottest name in ultra running right now. Courtney came to the scene almost out of nowhere. In 2017, she won the MOAB 240, finishing first in front of all the men, and 10 hours ahead of the second runner. In 2018, she won the American iconic Western States and was named the Ultra Runner of the Year. In 2019, she came to race the most prestigious ultra race in Europe, the Ultra Trail du Mont-Blanc, and guess what? She won it too. Courtney Dauwalter is a genuinely superhuman athlete.
Thank you guys all for being out. You're amazing. I love the ultra running community. It's definitely one of the things that hooked me. I don't know, I just felt so welcome. You know, anyone coming into the sport would have someone to turn to, even like a hand pulling you off the ground when you face plant in a mud puddle. I think the community is everything for this sport.
My name is François. I'm a trail runner for Salomon running team since 10 years, and I'm really fascinated by Ultra Trail.
François has almost won it all. People see him as a legend of the sport. He's won the Grand Raid in Reunion Island 4 times. He's won the first Ultra Trail World Tour back in 2014. But he's mostly known for being a 3-time champion of the Ultra Trail du Mont-Blanc. François is by far one of the best ultra runners in the world, but besides that, he's also the father of 3 kids.
J'ai découvert François en 2010, dans ses premières expériences de longue distance. Et ça a été une relation basée sur cet échange permanent tout au long de l'année pour développer les produits, pour essayer de comprendre ce qui va demain conditionner le futur ou le succès ou l'échec sur une course.
François and Courtney are at the forefront of ultra trail community trends. They're famous for wearing baggy shirts and pants in the races. It looks like they're dressed up for a basketball game and not a 100-mile race. Especially Courtney, she's nothing like you've ever seen before. She's an ambassador of change. She tries to make a big difference while she's running. She's managed to reach the same level as the men lately, and also to revolutionize the way she's dressing during her races.
I've always worn long shorts, so even growing up I preferred long soccer shorts or basketball shorts for everything I was doing. And then when I transitioned and started doing ultra running, it was just natural to stay in the same clothes.
Courtney est très différente de François dans son approche. Le look de François va être basé avec un besoin beaucoup plus technique de produit, alors que Courtney va avoir besoin d'un look beaucoup plus loose.
We don't need to be aerodynamic for 100 miles, and so choosing the clothing and the gear that makes you feel confident standing on the starting line and makes you feel comfortable when you're running for 24 hours is the most important. So I'm an American living in Colorado, which is the same state where Hardrock is, probably 5 hours away from the start line. Hardrock has a ton of history and a ton of community around it that makes it a really special race. I don't know, they create this like family reunion feel around the race where they don't even call it a race, they call it an endurance run. And everyone's just out there trying to complete this 100-mile loop in the San Juan Mountains and enjoy the views along the way.
We live now in Le Beaufortin, in Arèche-Beaufort. It's a small village in Alps, in France. I live very close from the UTMB trail. I know how the trail is, and it's some famous trail in Europe because it's made a very nice loop around the highest point of Europe, the Mont Blanc, and it's passed by 3 different countries: Italy, Switzerland, and France. So it's a very iconic loop, and now the race is more and more mediatic every year. So for us, it's a very important race.
My main goals of the season are to string together 2 big 100-mile mountain races.
For this year, 2021, I would like to try to do running back-to-back Hardrock 100 and UTMB 100.
And specifically to focus on the 6 weeks between Hardrock and UTMB and how to recover as efficiently as possible and how to get in some training and be as fresh as possible for each race.
If you think of racing 2 100-mile races, that's already a hell of a journey. But then if you think of how much accumulated climb they have on both races, man, it equals about 20,000 meters. And I've checked it, and that would be like reaching the stratosphere. That's crazy.
You know, it's not about running UTMB, it's about training only for UTMB. Because running UTMB is motivated me, but if all my season is focused on UTMB and just training like normal, like in 2014, like in 2012, like in 2017, just training only for UTMB, so I know I can do that. And I don't want to have the same season. I want to challenge myself, I want to try something else. That's why I think running back-to-back Hardrock and UTMB made me a very good motivation, and since 2 years I trained for that big challenge. This season, I was not stressful about the lack of competition of last year because of COVID. I was just, like every year, a bit stressful about the transition between ski mountaineering and cross-country ski to trail running. So we have a very nice training camp this year in El Hierro. But then I tried to program like a race test in Cabo Verde. When I arrived in Cabo Verde, it was a bit warm, but I was feeling okay, and there's not a lot of competitors, so I lead the race with like 2 or 3 hours, so it was a very good race for me. After 7 or 8 hours, I start to feel a bit strange, so maybe it was because of the warm, but I was thinking it's more about my body. So I tried to continue to drink and eat and to have a good solar protection, but my body didn't answer very well, so...
The spirit of Ultra, it's all about crossing a finish line. It's not about performing, it's not about the time. We are not on a marathon, you know. When you are training for a road marathon, you are thinking very quickly the time you want to reach. You know, like I want to run 3 hours, I will follow a training plan to reach these 3 hours. This is not existing at all in ultra running. You start and you don't know if you will finish.
Yeah, I finished like fully crampy, and so I said, okay, now you have to try to understand what's happened. So I continue to drink and eat and take time, and I try to rest, but it was not working very well. So it's taken me like 3 hours to make 100 meters and then 8 hours to put my legs straight. My cramp disappeared after like a 2-minute nap, so I was able to continue and going slowly. I start walking and then running again, and then I finish the race in this very, very nice loop. And so it was for me 26-hour race instead of maybe 14-hour race, so it was not the test as I expect.
After 1 year without any international racing, to see François dropping from his test race before the Hardrock, for sure it puts a lot of question marks whether he's ready or not before the big race of the season.
Well, François is really well preparing his objectives. He knows exactly himself, and how he should prepare the race. Courtney is really more in the quantity than the quality as François.
I think maybe Greg proposed it to me. 200-mile races in one summer is perfect. I do not have a training plan, and I do not have a coach. My goal during the whole preseason was to stay healthy and get as much climbing as possible, but also just to have a blast doing it so that I was still mentally excited to be racing when July and August come around with the big goals.
I was trying to reduce the number of goals by season, and then she told me, yes, but I took part of 24 hours with a friend. It was nice, and I was okay, it was nice, but your body, it will be difficult to recover, from it. And then a few weeks after, she was doing 24 hours up and down a climb just with a friend as well in the Colorado. I'm always scary that she get burned.
Yes. Vas-y, continue. You like skiing?
Oui. Ah, elle est partie.
Since 2019, Courtney and Francois are announcing at the beginning of each season that racing the Hardrock 100 and the UTMB will be their major goal for the year. But in fact, it has never happened. During 2019, Hardrock got cancelled because of the strong risk of avalanches after a snowy winter in Colorado. Then in 2020, COVID-19 came and paralyzed the whole world, including the most important races. Then finally, this 2021, even if COVID is still present, there's high chances that they will be able to try it for the first time after 2 years.
I was in US 2 years ago in a Hardrock place.
What's the point of being here when there's no race?
It's such a different race here. It's really high. I'm not living at such high altitude. In France, at 4,000 meters, you are already on a glacier. Hardrock is a very specific race because it was a very altitude race. You have more than 12 passes, I think, above 4,000 meters, so acclimatizing your body is very, very important.
Alors comme des courses en altitude, je dirais de l'alpinisme, du moment qu'on monte en altitude, il faut y passer du temps. Et dès qu'on a passé quelques semaines, le corps va s'adapter, fabriquer plus de globules rouges et s'adapter finalement à l'altitude. Et à ce moment-là, on va retrouver un plein potentiel. Sur la Hardrock, où ça monte jusqu'à 4000, on est dans des zones, je dirais, où le corps a une capacité d'adaptation, mais il faut lui laisser le temps. Donc c'est bien d'y aller au moins 3 semaines avant.
I know that it's take at least 8 or 9 days to my body to start to transfer very well to the altitude. So I really want to put all the chance on my side. That's why I decided to go 2 weeks before the race in US.
I live at 10,000 feet, so I didn't really have to do anything special to get ready for the altitude of Hardrock. Because I didn't have to worry about the altitude, I focused more on climbing and getting my hiking legs ready for the huge ascents and descents in the Hardrock course.
In 2019, I was for 10 days in US, just discovering the place, and I spent a lot of time with the American runner.
Where are we right now? We're on the top of Green Mountain, checking out the view.
It's Green Mountain.
What?
It's not Green Mountain.
Aren't we?
Little Giant Peak.
Never mind. We're looking at Green Mountain. We're on top of Little Giant Peak.
I'm Jim Walmsley. I'm a professional trail runner for Hoka One One, and I do ultra trails out there with a lot of the Salomon athletes. I first met Francois out at UTMB 2017. It was my first experience running in the UTMB races, and I think Francois was coming in as one of the heavy favorites, being a 2-time UTMB winner. And we ended up spending a lot of miles, especially through the night, together.
We like what's happened during the UTMB 2017. And since, yes, we were planning to make something together.
He was supposed to do Hardrock 2019 and it got canceled, but he still went to Colorado, and I tend to go to Silverton, Colorado every year. So we were able to get in like 10 massive days of just this like huge training block together out there, and I got to show him a lot of the course and talk to him about it. Over the years, we've developed a nice friendship that I think we both appreciate. This is now 2021, the race is for sure happening. So there were kind of some plans in making sure like, hey, what do you need help with? I didn't know if he really needed help with crewing or pacing or just whatever. I just kind of wanted to be available to help out.
In 2021, when I go back to US, for me it was just normal and logic that Dakota Jones and Jim Wamsley will be there. And 4, 5, 6 months before the race, we are discussing together, and they help me to prepare well for the race. So it's not just about competition. They really helped me, and we made a team. Even if we are some really different brand, we are just athletes, and we just want to help each other.
Something really curious that will happen at this edition of the Hardrock is that Jim Wamsley will be pacing Francois. Now these kind of things really make you see the true spirit of ultra trail running, where even if they are two of the biggest rivals on races like the UTMB of 2017, they are now capable of helping each other during these other races.
This is my first time racing Hardrock, and I absolutely feel like a rookie. In every way. I think standing at the start line of Hardrock, not knowing the whole course and not knowing what it feels like to ask your body to move around that entire 100-mile loop, just feels like, full-on excitement, but also a lot of curiosity of what's going to happen or what will be the thing that goes wrong in this race that I have to try to fix. So a combination of excitement and then also like, ooh, what could happen out there in those mountains?
You need to be really experienced in ultra trail running races if you want to come to race at Hardrock and finish it. Francois and Courtney will come as rookies, but they're not aiming to cross the finish line. They come here to perform, and why not to win?
I'm so excited that Hardrock gets to happen this year. I've been waiting for many years, and I can't wait to get on the course.
Hardrock onboard, it's about 160 kilometers, so the first 60k you have to run alone, and then a pacer can join you. So the plan was that I went along to the 61st k, then Jim joined me for 50k, and then Dakota finished with me the last 50k. When I planned the race, I said, okay, maybe I have to give a timetable for my assistants and for my pacer. So I take the time of Kilian 3 years ago or even more. So I know at what time Kilian was at this point and this aid station. I have to think about my pace and my race and my feelings. But sometimes on the race it was a bit strange because we were like 1 hour, 30 minutes ahead of Kilian pace. So I was thinking, oh, maybe you are too fast, but if I'm too fast, maybe Debo is too fast too. So maybe we are together too fast, or maybe we are together in a good day, I don't know.
Francois' pace at Hardrock was just insane. He was like 48 minutes below Kilian's record, but he couldn't slow down because Dylan wasn't too far back. Now, Kilian is the most famous runner of all times. To run below his records is already a great achievement, but 48 minutes? That's out of this world.
118? Yep. 172!
First aid station, she looked fantastic, but I think it's only like 7 or 8 miles in. It's very early on.
How are those? Wow, what a delight.
Like the second and third aid station, I could kind of see it, in her eyes, her face, that things weren't totally 100%.
I did not feel great almost immediately in the race, and my stomach was just rejecting everything that I was trying to put in it.
I didn't eat very much, so maybe just take your time. Yeah.
And then it was just like I was trying to hold the same pace and, keep the same effort level, but the energy possible, the calories possible was just dwindling with every mile. And so eventually I was out of gas.
You know, sometimes if you have issues in an ultra and you keep going, things will turn around and like your body will kind of, you know, figure things out, but that never happened. And she kept pushing her body really hard without taking in any calories.
Vodka? So when it feels like you can't take another step, I think that's when being in your head and being strong mentally can keep you moving many more steps than you thought was possible.
Drink and eat.
Yeah. Part of my problem was that I was not addressing the problem that was happening. I was hoping it would solve itself as the miles passed and that suddenly I would feel better. So I didn't even tell my crew that I was having this problem. I was in and out of aid stations very quickly. They had no idea how much I was dying on the inside.
Seemed like she was having a really hard time. Like it seemed like she was kind of scrambling to get some food in and was maybe like very hurried. Someone told me as soon as she left the aid station, they had kind of followed her out and they came back and said like the food that she just ate, she just threw up, and I was like, oh no, that's not good.
Je pense que c'est un problème mixte. Il y a peut-être quelque chose dans le plan de nutrition, il y a le froid, il y a peut-être aussi l'altitude et il y a aussi un concours de circonstances globales. Donc, mais souvent, j'ai vu beaucoup d'athlètes où on pensait que c'était la nutrition, mais c'était des problèmes annexes, notamment des sortes de coups de froid, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a des crispations, et il y a des crispations au niveau du ventre, et puis ils ne peuvent plus avancer.
I got a phone call from her pacer, which is a phone call you never want to get. She told me that she's having these stomach issues, that she was throwing up, that it was something that wasn't calming down. She wasn't able to figure out how to get it to slow down or stop. So we just kind of talked through options, talked through like if it was something that you push through or if it's something that, you know, will cause harm to your body and will, you know, cause problems months down the road, for example. So at that point we just kind of discussed it, and it seemed like it wasn't wise to continue at that point.
I couldn't like take stuff in. I haven't eaten since before Handy's.
Shit.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's weird, but it happens. You're cruising.
Bye.
Keep going.
Bye. You're welcome.
I ended up dropping out at mile 62, and probably the gas tank was empty at maybe, I don't know, 50-ish, because I wasn't able to take in anything, just gulps of air. Yeah, it didn't work.
After the first 60K, it's very nice to see people again, because it's a very wide path at the beginning. So then you arrive and you see a lot of people and your assistants, and Jim was there waiting for me.
I'm picking up Francois in Grouse aid station, about 42 miles. I'm taking him over Engineer through Uray, where he'll see his crew next. And then I'm taking him up Camp Bird Road over Virginius and down into Telluride for 30 miles at mile 72, where I'll tag Dakota Jones in and he'll take him home. He's on top of his pace. I'm not going to interject any. Dylan Bowman was right behind us. We could see him just one switchback below us, and he was basically clipping our heels, and that rubber band probably didn't completely break until much later in the race, probably KT or Chapman, somewhere in between there. So very late in the race, I think Dylan Bowman was just on record pace and having the day of his life, and he was just on Francois' heels all day.
I was more stressful about key and time stable, because I was thinking, oh, maybe we are too fast, and if Dylan is not behind me, maybe I can slow down, because the end of the race can be very difficult because of the altitude, because of the kilometers and something like that. So with Dylan just right behind me, I cannot rest, and I have to push all along the way. So I know I was in advance of that time, but I don't care about the record, but I just know that maybe I'm too fast.
About to head down into Uray. Francois has absolutely smoked this descent.
from engineer down. It's a good day.
Lately. On his way up Camp Bird Road, his stomach started coming back, and he was finally eating a lot more, and then we took it probably pumping the brakes quite a bit going into Telluride because it's a very steep descent, and just making sure you're not going to blow the legs out on that trail.
Are you pacing, Debo? Yeah. Race.
Says it's too cold to read face expressions that mean
Past Governor Basin. Looking down the road for, I think Debo's back there, chugging along. Yo, Debo. But our boy Francois is moving faster so far.
So here we are in Telluride. It's something like 8 o'clock in the evening, maybe 8:30, and the sun's still up. It's absolutely unheard of for a runner to be coming into Telluride in the daylight in this direction of Hardrock. And so François is obviously having a really good day. It's really exciting to see him running so well. He's got Jim Walmsley pacing him, and for some reason I'm pacing him after Jim Walmsley, which seems like in retrospect a bad idea, but I'm gonna do the best I can, man.
François est un grand professionnel. Toute chose, avant, pendant, tout a été conduit de manière à ce que, voilà, on sait où on va, on sait ce qu'on doit faire. On a mis en place toute une organisation au niveau du matériel, au niveau de l'assistance, de son suivi, de sa capacité à se nourrir ou à boire. Tout est sous contrôle. C'est-à-dire qu'on respecte parfaitement un plan.
He's crushing it. Yeah.
From the latest station, you know it's only downhill, but your legs don't like downhill at all because it's the end of an ultra trail and your legs are really sore.
He said, hurry up.
I know that Dylan is not right behind me because with the headlamps you can see where are the others. So I just want to appreciate that moment, and with Dakota we have many jokes and we are very happy to, okay, we made it, we will finish the race in first position. It's just incredible and very nice, and we just enjoy the night and the last descent, even if it's a bit sour for the legs.
It sounds like the most stupid thing ever. But there's people who go to this race and spend the whole day out there running just to cross the finish line and kiss a giant piece of rock.
I was pretty relieved because I guess part of my stomach said, I hope we didn't go too fast. But to see him just get stronger from there is pretty incredible, but a little bit of a relief of like my one job is to pace him and make sure like we're doing good and not too fast. Like worst case scenario, do not run too fast. And I guess maybe my own relief to that he finished strong still.
I think the victory is very nice, and I was so happy about that victory. But I think what is very nice in that sport is that I think we have the same feelings with the first people to the last people. It's just that we made it. We made the full loop. We made this crazy, very hard race, and you are just happy to finish it and to accomplish it. And this is what I like in that sport, is that I think the feelings of the victory is important, but the feelings of finishing the race is the same for the first runner to the last runner. And this is what is very nice, I think, in Ultra Trail.
Congrats, man.
Oh my god, that's sick!
Nice job.
You're just too good, man.
No, you made
it's not
it
fair.
nice.
It's not fair.
Good job.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you're
21
time.
and change.
Yeah, you too.
Oh. Great job, man. Great job.
after Hardrock, I was just happy to be back in France. My travel was not easy. Then finally I made it, and I was in France like 3 days after the Hardrock with some big foot and big legs, and painful, but so happy to see my family again and my children. And they were happy to see me too, so it was just not thinking about my body and just thinking about, take time with them and be happy to meet each other. Since 10 years I try to, not to preserve my body, but I know that I don't want to push everything 1 year because I want to continue to practice trail running every year. So I don't want to give lesson, but for me, I don't want to make that more than 2 or 3 ultra trail by year because I know the impact on my body. So I know that since 10 years I try to preserve my body to keep motivation and freshness and everything for the next year. I hope so.
After Hardrock, I physically came back very quickly. My legs and body weren't destroyed at all. I was able to get back into training pretty quickly and then just started looking at different nutrition options for during races to see what we could tweak and what we could change to be ready for the next 100-mile effort.
I think we've just been using a lot of the same stuff for nutrition for a very long time, and maybe it's just not palatable initially, and then when you're not taking in calories, then that causes problems with your stomach, and once you have problems like that, then it just gets hard to eat anything. It doesn't matter what you try.
Maybe my stomach changed or my body changed or something where these things I had come to rely on as my nutrition for every single ultra just didn't work anymore.
Since Hardrock, she's tried out some other options for nutrition. She's done some long runs, just trying out new things and seeing what doesn't work so well. So she's tested it out in not a race, but at least in a hard enough effort where she'll have a good idea that it will work for the race.
Today we're making some mashed potatoes.
I feel confident about my new nutrition plan. I'm very excited to test it out. I think the setup of this season has been kind of special because oftentimes after a 100-mile race, you have nothing on the calendar, and that was your whole season is this one chance at 100 miles. And so to have a second chance at 100 miles in the same summer feels pretty cool. I'm pumped that I get to test out all of these new ideas now.
What do you think about these mashed potatoes?
Why not?
Alors effectivement, quand ils sont arrivés il y a une semaine, donc ils ont pas mal d'entraînement, ils ont fait des grosses reprises d'entraînement avant l'UTMB. Donc ils ont des corps où on sent des tensions sur certains muscles clés qui sont fortement sollicités pendant la course. Mais après 3-4 jours de repos, de massage et autres, leurs corps sont véritablement détendus, prêts pour l'UTMB. Et je dirais qu'on ne voit pas de traces de la Hardrock. Mais c'est souvent le cas. En fait, les décompensations physiques se passent plutôt après des entraînements, des charges d'entraînement qui se passent mois après mois, et on ne tient pas ce rythme une année. Et ce qui est intéressant, c'est qu'ils ont cette capacité d'encaisser 2 grosses courses à l'affilée, mais après de savoir se reposer, avoir l'intelligence de se reposer derrière.
With UTMB comes all of the things. So it's this huge, excited atmosphere, tons of people come, everyone is pumped on ultra running, and so with that comes different obligations and things like that, but then you relax when you get the chance.
Good luck. Thank you. Thank you.
The UTMB is the biggest ultra race in the calendar, because here's where you have all the media attention, and here's where you have the biggest density of athletes. It's a little bit the ending point of the season for many ultra runners, and the winners of the UTMB most of the time become the legends of the year.
I don't know, we need more women. Get out here, women. Hydrating.
it's vodka.
UTMB is now a very, very mediatic race, and for me as an elite athlete, I have to make the interview and I have to try to answer and to share with the community. And Kian is not here this year, so I have to admit that when Kian is here, a lot of media is focused on Kian, which is a good thing for me.
It's not vodka, it's water.
Est-ce que tu penses que François et Courtney vont gagner l'UTMB?
Alors je ne le pense pas, j'en suis certain. Je pense qu'ils sont tout à fait prêts. Après, évidemment, ils vont devoir se confronter à d'autres. Si on prend les courses qu'ils ont fait les années précédentes, je pense qu'ils sont meilleurs que ce qu'ils ont été avant. Maintenant, d'autres sont peut-être encore meilleurs qu'eux. Donc, mais par rapport à ce qu'ils sont, ils doivent gagner.
So I was pacing François at Hardrock, and now I find myself competing against François at UTMB. I guess part of me hopes that François and I end up finding a rhythm together in the race, but at the same time I think if he's having a bad day, I'm probably not going to wait for him, and likewise I think if I'm not having the day, there's no way he's waiting for me. It's still a competition, and I think we would both like to win first and foremost, but then secondly, I guess if I don't win, maybe I hope François wins and vice versa. I think there's a little mutual appreciation there, but yeah, he's fun to watch from afar, but I hope I can beat him at UTMB.
I think 100 miles is really cool because it's very hard to predict how it will go for people. So I love coming to UTMB for the level of competition. I love that all these really strong, tough women are lining up for the same race, and we can just see how it pans out.
When you walk to the start line, there's more and more and more and more people, and then you just arrive in the last, straight line. And then even if the race not starts, they just share on you like you finish the race. And it's 30 minutes to the start, but you accumulate a lot of good vibes and energy, but pressure too.
Before the race, I was really excited. I love race weeks and all the events that go with them, but getting to the start line and just having it begin, where you get to just run and enjoy nature and do what you came to do, is my favorite part. The very beginning of the race was chaos. Everyone was sprinting through the streets of Chamonix, and I was just trying to stay on my feet and not get trampled. Quickly though, the miles flew by. It's pretty flat right at the beginning, and I had no idea where anyone was just because it was so crazy at the beginning. So I didn't know if there were women in front of me or who was behind or anywhere that people were. And then the first climb was smooth, and I found out at the top that there were no women in front of me.
Normally that race starts really, really fast, but I don't know why, but this year I was ahead of the race, so it was not so fast. It was perfect for me, just my pace. So it was very, very nice and very cool. Until the top of the ascent on Les Ouches, we were all together, just very, not slow, but comfortable pace. We managed our descent to Saint-Gervais, not so fast. And then, Jim and Tim Ferriss made a bit acceleration until Les Contamines. So between Saint-Gervais and Les Contamines, it was a bit more dynamic. And then we knew that the race starts here.
Contamines is where I got to see Kevin. We took our time there to do the crewing, the aid station, very carefully, because after that you don't see your crew for the whole night, basically. So we made sure to go through and check that I had all the nutrition that I needed for the whole night, and make sure that all my batteries were ready for those dark hours.
After crossing Les Contamines at kilometer 40, the runners are very close to the mountains and the doors are opening to adventure. We can say that here is where the race starts. They have a marathon under their legs, the night is approaching and it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be dark, so they have to layer up, they have to get the headlamps out, and with all this darkness, the mental game for sure, it will start.
I think Francois and I have different strengths. His experience is probably something that I just can't completely make up for. I can try to learn quicker, but he's lives and born and bred in the Alps out here, so he's just really savvy. I think he does things like just switching into dry clothes without thinking about it, where I have to more like, oh, I'm a little wet, I should switch into dry clothes. He's just like, oh yes, why wouldn't you switch your shirt? So he's really savvy with his experience and just automatically does stuff that sets him up for success and surviving in the mountains. I think when the pace gets to more hiking, I think sometimes it feels like he's pulling more when it's hiking, but I also feel like if I can make it a little more up-tempo and a little more running, I put some pressure on Francois. Hopefully I can use my strengths and maybe push the pace a little more and maybe make him more uncomfortable and get away from Francois. But I think no one's done that to him in a long time, so we'll see, but fingers crossed.
So the night section through Italy has tons of really big climbs, and it was pretty cold out and really foggy. So my whole plan during that section was just to stay as calm as possible and warm as possible through the night and not try and push the climbs very hard or push the descent. So when I got to Courmayeur, I hadn't pushed myself too hard and I was feeling physically and mentally still really good.
To descent after Hardrock du Mont-Blanc, we start to feel that our legs it's a bit sore, and the last descent to Courmayeur say, wow, it will be a very long night and a very long day because our feelings are not like in 2017. I think I understand that he has some stomach problem, so he say, okay, I will really take my time in Courmayeur because I have to make something with my stomach and start again fresh. When you are in Courmayeur, you say, okay, halfway is done, it's just passing midnight, so I'm here to finish the race, I'm here to finish my challenge, so you made halfway, it's just midnight, so man, you can do it.
Maybe I can take a pick out the race. Huh? Maybe I can take a pick out. Et voilà, une image très sympa en fait. François qui vient piquer un cornichon au gym from Flagstaff.
After Courmayeur, I was a bit afraid of what's gonna happen in my legs and what's gonna happen with Jim, because I know that he don't feel very good. But he catch me very quick after Courmayeur, and we start the ascent together, then he stopped again, and then he was not arriving. I said, oh shit.
You know how far ahead you left?
After Courmayeur, which is the halfway mark of the race, we could see that Jim wasn't feeling too good. I think it was at the next aid station that he decided to stop. Now I'm sure that Francois would have loved to run with him for a little bit longer. There was still a long, long night ahead, and running alone, it's not easy.
Good job. Thank you. At Courmayeur, we went about the aid station kind of the same as Contamines, where we took our time because it's another really long section before I would see him again. So I think I spent like maybe 6 minutes in the aid station at Courmayeur, which normally I feel like I try and rush out of aid stations much quicker. And this time we were just staying really calm and being really like diligent about going through our list of things. But I did at that point basically switch over to fully liquid nutrition, so solids weren't going in anymore. So it's a big climb out of Courmayeur, and I reached the top of it, which is where they have aid station. Went through that aid station and drank a ton of water and just overzealous. And then after I left the aid station, I ended up throwing up everything that I had just drank, which had me a little bit nervous that my stomach was going to turn again like it did at Hardrock. I wasn't sure what it meant.
For me, from Berton to La Folie, it was a nightmare. In Grand Col Ferret, I said, okay, I just take my comfortable pace just to finish. I'm here to finish the race, no matter the result. I say, okay, now you are here on already more than 100K, so now it will be a long day, but you have to finish, so take care of yourself, think just about you. At that time, I was more stressful about my possibility to finish than just the position there.
When the sun finally comes up during an ultra, it gives you this huge boost of energy. So being able to turn off your headlamp, escape this little bubble of light that you lived in for 12 hours, and then, I don't know, just feel the rejuvenation of like sunlight and being able to see your surroundings is a huge mental boost for sure.
After La Folie, the sun is rising, so it changes a bit your mind, and I start to feel a bit better, and I start to think about the race, not just about you to finish. If you want to try to win or do something, it's now.
From La Folie to Champex-Lac, I was thinking a lot about the 2019 race. When I got to Champex-Lac in 2019, I was throwing up, and I didn't think it would be possible to finish the race. And so I was just kind of like comparing the two and feeling way better, and like I had paced it pretty well. And so I felt like I had a lot of energy left to give on those last 3 climbs to get you to the finish line. So the climb out of Champex-Lac to Trient, and then the climb out of Trient to Vallorcine, both went very smooth. I was feeling pretty solid, and like I could move really well on the uphills and then navigate the downhills just fine. And then I was hoping that when I got to Vallorcine, I would just have like an adrenaline rush that would help me push over the very last climb. The climb out of Vallorcine is horrendous. It was so mean. It's very, very steep. It's the very last climb, and it's super technical, and my feet and legs were just done. I had nothing left in them. My legs felt like they were rubber, and they were just like bending and shaking how they weren't supposed to. So I feel like that climb did not go super well. And the adrenaline rush that I was hoping I would get hit with that could power me to the finish line didn't really come. It was just like managing the uphill as best I could with what I had left.
When you see Chamonix at the top of La Plégère, you say, okay, it's very, I really want to be there because I want to finish this descent. But on the other way, say, okay, now it's done, it's finished, my challenge is finished, my summer is finished, my race is finished.
It was so crazy. The finish line here is like nothing else. It was really fun to get back to it. Once I crossed the scaffolding over the road, then you know you're in town, and the people were lined up already giving high fives and cheering, and I was just trying to soak it in as much as possible and like take in all of these faces and all of these noises and just enjoy it for everything it was.
And then when you arrive and you see the finish line, now it's just just incredible. And then I know my family will be there on the right. I know everybody will be there, and just it's wow, I made it.
When I crossed the finish line, I was totally spent. I think Yeah, I think I left everything on the course that I could on that day. And that feels pretty cool.
Courtney Dauwalter!
I am just reminded that 100 miles is very far and that there's always things we can do to get better. So I'm actually fine with how it all turned out with dropping out of Hardrock and having UTMB go like it did, because it forced me to learn some great lessons from the Hardrock DNF that I could then apply right away to this UTMB race and try again at 100 miles. And it also got me just really fired up to finish the race. So when I was standing on the start line of UTMB, I knew no matter what was going to happen, no matter how long it took, I was going to finish it because I wanted to complete that 100-mile adventure.
As a day after an ultra trail, you always say, okay, it's done, I'm done, but we'll see what happens at the end of the season. But normally I would like to stop here, just to be able to continue for the next few years.
No, the season's not done. Not if I get a say in it.
You are the little one, eh? How old is him?
2 years.
Yeah. Do you see how many kids are there?
1, 2, 3.
And you?
Kids? 1.
Right here.